Hi.
Hey.
This week has been exhausting. I feel like I haven't slept in like a month. Um, I know every parent writes that on Facebook, but I really feel like that this week, and it's no result of my children. It's my fault. So anyway, hi.
It's
So
your fault a little bit.
each week we try to kind of find one theme that captures our week and what happened and what we talked about and what we did and what we experienced and all that sort of stuff. So this week we sort of struggled a little bit, but what we came up with was this idea of figuring out what role different people play in our lives. So over the years, I mean, we've been together. We've been friends now since 1998, so 18 years, and we have been together 13 years coming up in October. And in that amount of time, we have had tons of different friendships and different relationships with family members, and we've kind of both just had to adjust to whatever the other one was experiencing really with these relationships.
And whatever we were experiencing with those relationships. Um, so one of the things I think we were going to talk about was um, the idea of figuring out what people's roles are in your life, whether it's for you as an individual or even for your partner or for both of you. A lot of times, misunderstanding those roles, or without getting too far ahead, setting expectations for roles that aren't met. That's when you get into trouble individually and even as a
Well,
partner with
just
your partner.
you end up a lot of times disappointed, and when one person's disappointed, it impacts your entire relationship. It impacts your kids, and that alone could be a big issue. Or you have because you want someone to fill some certain role that they do not fill, that that person doesn't fill. You end up feeling conflicted personally. You end up upset. You end up having arguments with these people, and that again kind of impacts everything. So this week, we had some good times. Last night we actually went to a party. If you want to talk.
So we went to a birthday party and saw old friends. And what's important to know about this particular group of friends is they were a group that I was really close with. Some through middle school, some even as far back as elementary school, but definitely through high school and most of college. And at that time in my life, they were very much important to me, and I'd like to think I was to them as well. Um, but things
So
happen.
much of your personal growth, so much of your memories, so all of that is kind
They're
of.
rooted in my relationships with them, and I brought that into our relationship.
I mean,
Right?
these people were friends up until our kids were babies, pretty much.
Yeah. So even though the birthday party sort of format has always been the same, the roles that these people now play in my life and our lives and me and theirs has changed, and so what you could do is you could sort of long for the days of how they used to be and things like that, or even be bitter that it's not like that anymore, or you could just come to terms with, and what I've sort of come to terms with is that I can see them on occasion, even if it's just once a year at this birthday party, enjoy their company. Hopefully, they enjoy mine. We can see each other's kids if we happen to bring them, and that's it. And that's a perfectly fine role, and we bring
And
that joy into
actually
each other's lives, and that's it.
and actually appreciate that and appreciate the growth that these people helped you to make. Maybe some of it's forward, some of it backwards, but still growth anyway.
Right. I had a best friend for a long time, and I always considered this person to be my best friend, so much so that when it felt like my expectations or my desire to have him as my best friend wasn't met by him also, in that like he didn't want me to be his best friend or whatever it was, it was painful to me, and I acted out in ways that were not productive for either of us. And because I didn't understand or manage his role in my life, that impacted everything in our relationship and everything in my own as an individual.
And two, like even with family, there are times when I'm very close with all my family members. There are times when I'm not. There are times where we have conflict. There are times, same thing with his family, that my parents and his mom and brother actually came over tonight, and I shared a little bit about this project that we're working on with his brother. And there were times where we were very close, as we kind of are now with all our parents and his brother, and there are times when we were not. And I think kind of that ebb and flow of relationships with people and understanding their impact on your family is really important. When you imagine people should fill certain roles in your life and then they don't, that's when a lot of conflict arises. So I think the main message is to figure out where people fit. And I feel like I kind of have multiple tiers of friendships. You have those friends that you go to and you know they're there, and they're there now, and maybe 2, 3 years from now, that person may not have that same level of importance in your life, and that's okay. Like, appreciate and respect that that's what you have with that person now. So then you have your tier 2 friendships, and those are the people maybe you go on like play dates with your kids and you catch up once every other month or something like that. And then you have your next tier, which would be your lifelong childhood friends. Maybe you live in different states and you get together once a year and again kind of catch up on things. And then you sort of have those people who maybe at one point in time had a really important place in your life, but now you realize they just don't fit there anymore, and that's okay too. Um, just make sure that you don't cut those off entirely, because you never know when that person might fit a professional role in your life, or you may need them for some sort of advice later on, and you don't want to completely end that relationship poorly.
Or maybe you can rekindle something that you had, or you never know. It's the bottom line. And in terms of how this pertains to relationships, since that's sort of how we're tying all this together week by week, both ours specifically and relationships in general, is be cognizant of how your partner's um, relationships and the roles that people play in his or her life are changing, and be supportive of that. And in some cases, maybe your partner doesn't even realize that there's a shift in the relationship, there's a shift in the role. Don't hesitate to make them aware of it, or have that conversation with your partner.
Your partner fairly, then have those discussions.
Right, because they may not even see it. They may still view the relationship how it used to be, and may not even have noticed that there is a shift or a change in it, or even one for the better. Like maybe you notice that there's a person that your partner hasn't reached out to recently, and you think that person could be or has been a positive influence in his or her life, and you want to see that continued. So it's all about the conversation. Like, this is a conversation. We don't talk so much, we being guys sometimes. So this is our little project is certainly helping with that. Okay, you
Yes.
good?
And now next week.
Next week we're going to be doing something a little bit different. So pay attention to the Facebook page to check that out. See you next time.